Chapter 8. They finished with their first morning breakfast experience. Both seemed a bit dazed by Maggie and her little Journey cafe. They walked in silence down the sidewalk. Both were very intrigued by all the quaint shops. Laura thought, is this Inspirational Village? Is that what I was being shown in the cafe? It couldn't be. She remembered her words. You find it in your heart, not with your eyes. The town was small enough so you didn't need a car. The stores were within close proximity of each other. Each shop was made of stones, gently placed as if an artist designed each building, patiently waiting for its occupants. What set them apart from each other were their color schemes. Some were decorated with shutters and baskets, or hanging flowers meant to engage the visitors with a smile. Joe's camera clicked away, attempting to capture the essence of this charming town. The businesses created here had very creative names: Healthy Mind, Body and Spirit, written in the cards, Mauve's Bakery, Meet and Greet Market, Joseph's Garden, and on and on. It was nearly impossible to walk down this street without a grin plastered to your face. The last shop caught Laura's eye. It was easy to recognize and find. The Shaman's Cove. Both looked at each other and laughed. The small sign on the window read, A treasure cove for the seeker. Stones, tinctures, herbs, and candles. Are you ready? Joe asked. Laura was still absorbing what she heard from Maggie. I am. Let's see what treasures are here, and held the door for Laura to enter first. The aroma was heavenly that greeted you when you came in. A small sign right inside the entrance read, Come in, make yourself at home. A bell rang on the top of the door casing as they entered. No one was to be seen, but they knew someone must be there. All the walls of the shop were lined with shelves. To the left on the shelf were small jars, labeled with italicized writing, to appear as an old apothecary. There was a beautifully restored country cupboard with several drawers on the other side of the room. It was definitely an antique. Above their heads, hanging from the wood beam ceiling, was a gorgeous vintage scale. It indeed took you back in time. This shop was timeless. The floor was made of colorful tiles, each placed perfectly with a pattern in mind. To the right, the shelves were encased in glass to keep small, fragile items within protected. The oil-lit chandeliers were amazing. They gave the shop a soft, welcoming glow. Every wall was colorfully arrayed with books, candles, and stones, large and small. There were even paintings hung, possibly from the local artisans. They both were taken by surprise to all that was contained in this little building. A large pedestal table greeted them with an open welcome to all journal. The leather-bound book was worn from the many hands turning the pages to make their entry. Joe touched the book, reaching back gently to see if he could view it from the beginning. The pages were linen thin and had a parchment feel to them. He couldn't believe what he saw. Look, he said to Laura, pointing to a date. It was a signature from June 17, 1909. It read, I just came for the view. It was my first eclipse. I couldn't have selected a better location. How long has she been here? He thought. Laura looked at the date again and said, It's true, Joe. On the 17th, there was a solar eclipse. A soft voice said, Hello. A woman appeared from behind the large bookshelf. She was radiantly dressed in white. Her long dress flowed across the floor as she approached her new visitors. The whiteness of her hair seemed to create a glow around her head. Welcome to Shaman's Cove, my world of trinkets and treasures. Thank you, they both said as if two children caught doing something they shouldn't be doing. Allura walked toward them, fully aware of who they were. She shook their hands and said, "Hello, I am Allura, owner of this lovely establishment." Laura extended her hand. "I am Laura Lang, and this is Joseph." "Ah, you are the reporters visiting my sweet friend. Would you like to take a journey?" They both laughed. So did she. "We just left the little cafe up the road called The Journey." "I am sure that was fun for you both. Maggie's place is loved by all. Every person we meet takes us on a journey. That's what life is all about, isn't it? Every moment and every person you meet or pass by are all a part of your journey. Come on with me. Let me share with you my world. I know you will enjoy it." "Are you on a time schedule?" she asked them. "No, not really. We came to interview the beholder who lives over the hill. Being with you and the others here in your lovely village was totally unexpected and a pleasant surprise." Allura laughed. "That's what makes it so fun. The unexpected surprises. We are all family here. Everyone has their own special gifts. The universe has a way of bringing us all together, doesn't it? Come, let me share a few of my treasures with you." They passed by the pedestal, and she brushed her hand across the top page. "Were you able to glance inside?" "Yes," Joe replied. "I was curious and turned it to the beginning. 1909? "Yes. Shaman's Cove has been here for quite some time. It was my great-grandmother's shop. I know it doesn't look so aged, but sometimes age is just a number. When something is loved and shared, it just glides through this realm. My great-grandmother shared her gifts with her daughter, and then it just came eventually onto me." "Do you all possess the same gifts?" Laura asked. "Some are stronger in each of us, as the stories were passed on through time." "Do you have a special gift?" Joe asked. Allura laughed. "One must experience this firsthand. A gift is not just possessed, but shared. One of Talisa's gifts was to be an interpreter of life. As for mine, you will have to share with me sometime what you feel my gifts are. We all have them, you know. Maybe my gift is to share with you your gifts in this realm, things you just don't realize you possess. It could be something extraordinary for you. In life, occasionally, we aren't aware or paying attention. We take a step we didn't intend to, and there it is, a gift. Now, you have a choice. You may pick it up or just keep walking, but it will come again if you missed it the first time." "Why will it come again?" "Because it was always intended for you." The music that played in the room seemed to be magical, relaxing their thoughts to possibilities and enlightening their minds to things unseen with the eyes. "So, where should I begin?" She spun around and swayed her hands in the air, bringing their attention to all the books on her shelves. "There might be a unique book that will captivate you as you see it or come near it. The books, the stones, all things have life within themselves. You think of them as just a book or rocks, but the spirit of life is within them. The words were given to be shared, and then they were printed on paper. They are the thoughts of the heart, emotions, and views of the soul, beginning to take form within a book or a poem, or maybe a song. Some are enticing and uplifting, and some are words showing us of the writer and where their mind is journeying. There is good in some, and not so good in others. It is up to you to decide and take to you what is good for you. I know once you see, and I hope soon you will look at writings and books with a different light. You might be a writer of books someday, too," as she looked directly at Laura. Laura smiled. Allura reached for 2 books. These books wanted me to read them, as she presented them to Laura and Joseph. Joe stirred at her words. Wanted me to read them? Laura didn't seem surprised by this. You could almost sense she understood. Every book has its own unique story behind how I came to hold them. This one caught my attention from listening to a spiritual teacher I encountered many years ago. She had mentioned it was one of her favorite books, Illusions by Richard Bach. I really, really enjoyed it. The words in it just fit perfectly with my path and my soul. Now, this one is very interesting, she laughed as she shared the story. I was visiting a small village in upstate New York and arranged to stay a few nights resting in a quaint out-of-the-way inn. It was placed in a magical setting in the woods. You could almost sense the fairies and little sprites there. I knew as soon as I saw a stream flowing behind it and a small cabin resting on the edge of the cliff that I was to stay there. I always keep my senses open for signs and interesting things to experience. She was transporting them right back there with her, as any good sage would do. No one else was staying there other than my love who'd come with me. He was such a good partner, always so eager to enjoy life. He decided to take a nap, and I went out to relax on the screened porch. I had brought things to occupy myself, but I knew there was more to see here. As the evening was making itself evident, I came inside and found a small sitting room. The furniture was of an earlier time and was very welcoming. I circled the room, enjoying the decor. Pictures of times past hung on the wallpapered walls. As I came to the corner of the room, there was an antique desk with lovely artifacts on it. On it was a pair of white, aged gloves. One was lying on top of the other, as if someone had just removed them and set them there. An ink pen was by them, and an old notepad. Allura paused for a moment. It seems like you're walking through time with me, doesn't it? They both stared at her silently, waiting for her story to continue. Well, the pen wasn't the kind of pen we're familiar with. It had a white feather on the end. It was a quill pen that was used a long time ago. I laughed out loud, knowing my spirit guides were entertaining me right down to the white feather. Have you an understanding about the white feather? Angels appear when feathers are near. They give you messages in so many different ways for you to know that they are there. The feather is one of them. Laura laughed out loud. She understood. Allura was pleased. Now, that was an angel thing, right, Laura? I immediately took a photo of it. I have so many in my Photos of Life book over there. She pointed to a large box by the back wall. Experiences like this are memories you hold like a treasure given, so you can share them, as I am doing now with you. One other thought for you both to ponder. What do you see on the cover of the Illusions book? They both laughed, and Joe said, "A white feather." You see, it is all orchestrated. It all fits together for every one of us, if we have eyes to see, that is. You aren't alone here in this realm. You might be aware of this, or maybe you're just now becoming aware. It isn't a test that has a right and wrong answer. It is for you to know, and no one else needs to know if it is or if it isn't. We are family, all of us, in spirit and here." Her sweet smile made her face glow even more. "You, my two friends, will not look at life the same way after this journey you are experiencing in our little village. Now, let's go back to my fun treasure experience. I walked from the sitting room to an adjoining room. There were little tables set up with decks of cards on one and a checkerboard on another. There was a bookshelf to make each traveler decide, should I play games or read? It was there for your pleasure. As I looked at the books, it was only a second or two. This one book pulled me right to it. I had other books with me, but this one wanted me to read it. She swayed it in front of them again. The Law of the Spirit. I thought. I have never read this or heard of it. I giggled a bit, holding it in my hand. What do you have to share with me, my little friend? I saw under the title it read, A Tale of Transformation. Laughing out loud, I said, Of course. I took it to the cozy chair in the sunroom. The night time, but the light from the lamp provided enough for me to read. Once I started, I couldn't put it down. Allura placed the book on the table. I know you must be curious about what I read. It's for you to read if you choose to when you part from me. Maybe you'll be pulled to it and find it. It'll come if you are. Watch for the signs. Your angels and guides will take you to where it is, as mine did for me. Now, let's continue. Laura interrupted. There's more to your story on that book, isn't there? Allura smiled and nodded yes. Will you share it with me? Of course I will, but your journey here isn't to learn about my journey. Your true journey is to learn of yours. Joe added, and finish our story about Talise. Of course. But sometimes when we come to do one certain task, even more is given, more than we anticipated. Her body swayed as her dress floated and seemed to dance in the air. Come, see these. The counters and tables in the next room were filled with stones of all colors. These all are found within your mother. They both had a curious look. Mother Earth, she chuckled. Are you familiar with stones? Each stone has its own gift. She handed them a large laminated sheet. All the stones were listed and their qualities beside them. You'll know which ones are for you. Just as with the books, they will pull you to them like a magnetic force. The same with candles and aromas you love. Oh, my new friends, there is so much for you to have your eyes opened to. They stood back from the table, taking in what they could, viewing them with curiosity and maybe a bit of disbelief that stones had such significant importance to humans in this realm. Allura tapped Joe's watch. Do you know what makes this operate? A battery? She laughed. Yes, but it is the quartz within that allows it to function. Look into this information, Joseph. Learn there is more to life than just what meets the eye. Now, come over to the counter. Joe walked over and immediately picked up a black stone. You see, Allura said, I know what gifts that stone has, but you aren't aware. That's how spirit works. Things are given or brought to your life that you have no awareness of. But your angels do. Laura touched a beautiful crystal point. Allura watched Laura. Her eyes were filled with delight. "They both are yours," she said. "They were meant to be yours. I will share their identity with you before you part. Then you can learn the why of why they pulled you to them." Both were hesitant to accept such lovely gifts. Never hold back, my friends. Gifts are treasures being given. Allura went over to her desk as she began writing. Laura and Joe just seemed in awe of what had just transpired. "Are you okay?" Laura asked Joe. He just seemed a bit dreamy in his eyes. She was concerned. "I'm fine. It's just that my mind is having a hard time absorbing all of this." "Me too," Laura said. Allura came out from the back of her desk and handed them both a small envelope. "Here you go. Don't open them now. Open them tonight when you are alone. Now your day progresses, and I know Talise has expectations for your arrival. Namaste, my friends. We will see each other again." Allura wagged her finger at them. "Now, remember to take time to walk by the lake. It was given the name Aisling when it appeared many years ago. It means dream." She smiled, watching the expressions on their faces. "Talise told us the story how that name was given to the lake," Laura said. "I thought she would," Allura replied. "Did you ever inquire to the name of our little village?" Laura said, "I was just thinking that this morning. I haven't seen any signs." Allura teasingly whispered, "Well, its name is Soul."